Hello class and welcome to Strategic Management, Chapter 11. So let's get started. In this chapter we're talking all about evaluation and control. This is the final component of the strategic planning process, and it's the component that's most oftentimes overlooked. In this component we're looking at evaluating the progress that we've made. So if you think about the entire semester, we went planning, implementation, and now we're finally at the last stage where we are looking at the performance that's been done so far and seeing did it meet the outcomes that we expected. So that's all about performance and evaluation. While evaluation and control is one of the most overlooked components of the strategic planning process, it is one of the most important components of the strategic planning process. Here are 4 steps that you should follow when engaging in evaluation and control. First, you need to identify what needs to be measured. Second, set standards, set performance standards. So this is what's important, and this is what I want to achieve. Then decide on a mechanism to measure that performance. Once you've implemented your activities, your strategy, then actually measure the performance and compare that performance to what you wanted to achieve. And if you met it or exceeded it, congratulations, that's great. But if you have failed to meet your performance standards, then you want to look at taking corrective action, seeing what did you do, what could you do differently to improve the results next time. Here's that same process laid out in a flow chart, manner. So ask yourself the 4 questions. You'll be following the chart all the way through from 1, 2, 3. Now, when you get to the point of did your actions meet the standards? If the answer is yes, stop, you're good. If it didn't, take corrective action and go back and measure and continue this process of taking corrective action and remeasuring yourself over and over again until you actually meet the standards that you're striving for. Okay? Performance is the end result of all the activities. That's what the whole strategic planning process is about, that we want to be able to hit the performance level that's important to us. We want to be able to increase our market share or to increase sales or whatever it is that we deem to be important. There's a couple of things that you want to take note of when deciding what to measure for performance, how you're going to evaluate your strategy. The first are called steering controls. So these are variables that influence the future profitability of the organization. Here are some examples. If there's an airline, maybe it's the cost per passenger mile. If you're in retail, maybe you're looking at the inventory turnover ratio, customer satisfaction, a number of variables that you can pick and identify that you want to measure. And as you're doing your evaluation, you're going to measure these particular components and see how your strategy is delivering on them. Now, there's other types of controls, right? You have output controls, which is focusing on how many widgets or whatever it is that you're producing. You can say per hour, per day, per employee, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? You can look at behavioral controls. This may be how many times a particular employee or person engages in a certain behavior or refrains from engaging in other behaviors, follow certain rules or procedures. And you could also look at input controls. How many chips are you purchasing to bring in to make the laptops? Look at your supply chain and look at the items that are part of your input process of your supply chain. Some of the more common measures when we're looking at a corporation overall are these corporate performance indexes, looking at, for example, your return on investment, earnings per share, return on equity. Many of these formulas you were given to do as part of your cases. And here's some popular measures for internet-based companies. So stickiness, how long does a person stay on a particular website? Eyeballs, how many people are actually viewing and seeing your advertisement or your website? Mind share, kind of what's the share of people who are looking at this type of information? How many of them are actually coming to your website for information? And monthly unique viewers. These are all common measures for internet-based companies. Now, I'm not going to go into every component on this slide. I would just simply say, pause the video, take a look at this, or pull it up in the PowerPoint slides, take a close look at it, just so you understand some additional metrics that people can use to evaluate performance in companies. Now, benchmarking is a process of comparing your company's performance to some standard or to another company that's in your same industry, their performance. And so you would say, I know Walmart is a leading company, and I want to look at how they manage their inventory turnover ratio. There are certain benchmarks that are standard for the industry, and then you have Walmart, who may be the leader in the industry. So I'm Target. I want to now look at and compare my company to those indices. I'm going to benchmark myself. So the continual process of measuring products, services, and practices against the toughest competitors or those companies recognized as industry leaders. Now you want to see, is there a difference between their performance and yours, and take corrective actions. So these are six steps that go into the benchmarking process. Identify the area or process that needs to be examined. Find behavioral outputs and measures that you can quantify and measure. Select an accessible set of competitors that are engaging in these same practices. Calculate the differences between your company's performance and those competitors' performance. And this is a big one, right? Number 5, develop tactical programs to close the performance gap. So if you're not doing as well against some of those benchmarks that the competitors are doing, you want to put strategies in place to close the gap between you and your competitors. And then implement those programs, track them, measure them, and see if you're able to improve your performance in those areas. Well, that wraps it up for this lecture, everybody. Thank you for watching. Take care and have a good day.